The first thing this video reveals is not what Piers Morgan thinks about football. It reveals what the show thinks its audience wants from football talk. Not evidence, not even really disagreement, but the pleasure of watching famous men defend the old order in real time. The title says John Terry was overlooked for Chelsea. That word is doing a heroic amount of work. It asks you to begin from sympathy, to accept that the scandal here is not whether Terry has built a compelling managerial case, but whether the institution failed to appreciate him. And once the show gets you to swallow that framing, the rest of the episode becomes an exercise in status protection masquerading as candor. Even the opening detour into Keir Starmer stepping down tells you what kind of conversation this is going to be. The news hook isn't used to illuminate football power, media power, or leadership standards. It's used as a warm-up lap for vibes. Who feels strong? Who feels decisive? Who has presence? That matters because it sets the epistemic tone for the whole hour. Leadership is treated less as a record you can interrogate than as a personality test administered by men who enjoy the sound of certainty. By the time they get to English managers, the ground has already been prepared for anecdote to outrank analysis. The central football claim is that English coaches are not given proper opportunities in England, especially at the top end. There is a real conversation to be had there about club ownership fashions, imported prestige, and the way domestic coaches can be typecast. But this video handles that question in the laziest possible way, by collapsing structural bias, bad hiring, and simple lack of elite credentials into one big soup of resentment. Terry can say English managers deserve more chances. Simon Jordan can say some blew the chances they got. And the show gets to sound balanced without ever doing the boring adult work of naming actual jobs, actual candidates, actual records, and actual alternatives. Notice what's missing. No serious comparison of English managers versus foreign hires in similar circumstances. No look at which English coaches have actually built a tactical body of work strong enough for elite clubs. No discussion of how modern clubs hire now. Sporting directors, model fit, development record, recruitment alignment, dressing room management, game model, data profile. Instead, the evidence keeps shrinking back to a much smaller proposition. It feels like English managers aren't respected enough. Maybe. But feeling under-respected is not the same thing as being best qualified for Chelsea, or England, or anybody else with Champions League expectations. And then we arrive at the episode's real object of devotion. John Terry's claim that he should at least have been interviewed for Chelsea, perhaps even appointed interim, and that his coaching experience made the Liam Rosenior decision insulting. This is where the conversation stops being merely thin and becomes intellectually evasive. Terry's case is presented as self-evident because he has been in dressing rooms, because he knows Chelsea, because he has done coaching work, because football people know football. That is not a case. That is biography. Chelsea are not hiring a museum guide to explain what the club used to feel like. They are hiring a manager to run a modern first-team operation under extreme pressure. The hidden assumption is that proximity to greatness naturally matures into managerial merit. Football has spent decades flattering itself with this idea. Great captain equals future great manager. Strong dressing room presence equals strategic authority. It's one of the sport's favorite fairy tales because it flatters everyone involved. The ex-player gets to treat his past as collateral, and the media gets to outsource evaluation to charisma. But being a commanding center back in Mourinho's Chelsea is not the same skill as designing a pressing structure, managing a backroom staff, integrating recruitment, or surviving a run of 6 matches where your team can't play through a mid-block. Different job, different burden of proof. To be fair, the strongest point in Terry's favor is not that he should have got the Chelsea job. It's that clubs often do use absurdly narrow filters when deciding who is ready. Reputation can open doors for glamorous foreign appointments just as much as it can for club legends. Football hiring is not a meritocracy. It's a networking event with better tailoring. But that concession does not rescue the video, because the panel never turns that insight back on Terry. If the system is irrational and prestige-driven, then his own argument is also prestige-driven. He is not asking us to believe in a rigorous process. He is asking us to believe that his status should have counted for more inside an irrational one. There's a revealing little turn when the conversation moves into halftime team talks. This is exactly the kind of subject where an ex-player can offer something useful. What lands emotionally, what players stop hearing, how a dressing room reacts under stress. But the show treats access itself as substance. The mystique of the tunnel, the authority of the voice, the romance of what a real dressing room is like. All of it floats above the harder question of whether these men can translate experience into explanation. You keep waiting for someone to say something concrete enough to falsify. Instead, you mostly get football campfire stories told with the confidence of a TED Talk. The Ronaldo section is the same problem in a shinier suit. The question is whether Cristiano Ronaldo is over the hill. That should be a brutally empirical discussion. Minutes, movement, finishing profile, defensive cost, role distortion, squad-building consequences, what you sacrifice to keep feeding a legend after the legend phase. Instead, the debate hovers around aura, standards, exceptionalism, the permanent possibility that Ronaldo can still bend reality by force of name. It's celebrity exceptionalism pretending to be football analysis. Ronaldo becomes not a player to evaluate, but a monument the panel is nervous to appraise honestly in daylight. Then comes one of the most morally slippery parts of the episode. The discussion about whether England players should shake hands with figures like Thomas Partey and Achraf Hakimi. Here the show wants the electricity of taboo without the discipline that taboo requires. It reaches for the posture of fearless conversation while skimming over the evidentiary, legal, and ethical care such a topic demands. Football media loves this trick. Invoke the seriousness of off-field allegations or controversies, then process them through banter logic, as if the point were bravery rather than responsibility. It turns human gravity into studio texture. That is not honesty. It's a kind of moral tourism. The Miguel Almiron sending off segment lands in a similar place. Instead of slowing down and asking what the rule is trying to police, whether enforcement is coherent, or how discretion gets abused, the panel's instinct is to perform outrage at absurd modern football. Sometimes that outrage is earned. Football governance often is absurd. But this show's reflex is so predictable, it becomes useless. Every decision becomes proof of softness, bureaucracy, or institutional stupidity. There's no curiosity about rule design, only the easy chemistry of collective scoffing. It's the sports talk version of a pub door permanently wedged open by indignation. And yes, the format makes the substance worse. Not because the split-screen studio setup is unflattering. It's perfectly functional, but because the show's rhythm rewards dominance cues over reasoning. Piers moves the conversation like a prosecutor who has no intention of entering evidence. Simon Jordan brings the useful abrasiveness of someone who occasionally remembers that claims need testing. Terry brings the authority of lived football experience. In theory, that triangle could produce something sharp. In practice, it produces a hierarchy of confidence. Whoever sounds most certain gets the floor, and certainty is the one resource this set will never run short of. So my verdict is harsher than I disagree with the takes. I think the video is a good example of how football culture keeps protecting weak arguments by dressing them in authenticity. It turns grievance into analysis, nostalgia into expertise, and controversy into atmosphere. The strongest part of the episode is also its biggest vulnerability. These are people close enough to elite football to make viewers feel they're hearing the truth behind the curtain. But closeness is exactly what makes the conversation so compromised. It's not trying to discover which claims survive scrutiny. It's trying to preserve the dignity of a certain football class while pretending to host a debate. And honestly, there's something almost funny about a show calling itself uncensored when the main thing it censors is the burden of proof. If you enjoy football media being treated as something more than background noise, if you want the arguments pulled apart, not merely admired for sounding masculine on television, stay with this channel. There's a whole ecosystem of shows like this, and they keep telling us what the game is allowed to think about itself. I'd like to keep bothering that ecosystem.